I would like to call the January 2024 operations meeting to order. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda by Mr. Hall and Mr. Forsythe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then I would like a motion to approve the minutes from December 11th. Mr. Hall, Mr. Forsythe, Mr. Kay, Mr. Reagan. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I have a few people to update you on. Mr. Sheridan will be attending remotely from 2252 Lake Ridge Drive, Belmont, North Carolina. Mr. Perkins will attend remotely from 43 Woodtailing Drive in Potsdam. Mr. Jeanette will be attending remotely from 1350 County Route 53 in Brazier Falls. Mr. Burke and Mr. Denisha are excused. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, Mrs. Terminelli will be here.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Pettis. First up, I have the RAVE Mobile Safety Program demonstration by Mr. Joseph Braun.
Hi, how's it going?
We can hear you. Oh,
Yep, does that work? And then you want me to pull up the screen? Does that work for you?
yes, please.
All right, perfect. So I'll get started with a brief PowerPoint slide. And you should be able to see the screen now. Does that work for you?
We can see that.
Yes, yes.
All right. So if you all want to, I guess, play along here with the system, if you want to text Lawrence to the number 67283, you can actually opt in and we can kind of see how the message actually sends and what it looks and feels like. Once you text that word to the 5-digit code, you'll actually get an opt-in message as well, which will have like a real quick little brief welcome message. And it also has a link in there as well. So you have the flexibility with the system to not only send obviously messages, but if you want to send additional messaging, we can use either like a regular hyperlink, or you can shorten it down a little bit too. So I just put in a real quick little brief information about the Eclipse in there as well for you. So I'm going to jump over to the system now.
So far, that's not interacting.
What's that?
Oh, there it goes. Never mind.
Yep. So should have the nice little welcome message. So that's one way to get people to sign up. They can obviously sign up for messaging online as well by making a profile and joining to opt-in messages. And we have all sorts of different ways with our marketing team to assist with getting that information out as well. So you guys won't have any issues getting people signed up, but you also have that text to opt in. And with that list that you just opted in for, it's actually going to be a shorter amount of time. So it's only going to run for, I believe, a day. And then you'll be automatically removed from the system as well. So if you have big events coming up where you want to be able to share a lot of information all at once, people can text that keyword, opt into a list, and it doesn't have to be forever. They can just opt in for the weekend or the week or however long the event is, or you can obviously use it for forever as well. So two different ways to kind of get people to sign up for the messaging. So all sorts of different ways that we can come in here. We can use our templated alerts, which are basically pre-canned messages, or we can come in here and we can use our create a message from scratch. So I'm just going to send a test message real quick, just so we can send a message to that list and you can kind of see what it looks and feels like. We'll do a quick text message and we can say, road closure or road closed due to snow. And you can see here, system is real nice and easy to send messages. It turns green to let you know that it's up and running. And then we have all sorts of different ways to go and send a message here out to residents, or if you want to externally as well, you have your text message, email, voice call. You also have RSS or social media. The one you don't see here though, just because my system isn't activated for it, is a system called iPause. So where we have people signing up for messaging to obviously opt in and decide that they want to receive messages from the county. We also have a system called iPause, which is a federally mandated or kind of overseen option for messaging. And those are, if you think about those Amber alerts that get pushed out to your cell phone, where it automatically buzzes and tells you that someone's missing. We can use that, and that will be a message that is based off of the geography of the phone. So everyone in your area will receive that iPause messages. So if it's an Amber alert or maybe an evacuation of some sort, you also have that option to send messages, so you can make sure that you're hitting everyone in the area and making sure we get the information out nice and quickly. So 2 ways to do it: iPause, which would be everyone, which is more for like emergencies. And then we also have the option to have people sign up and opt into messaging. So I'm going to come in here and we're going to search for the list here. And we're going to click on that. We're all set to go. And now we have our 3 options. You'll see here, it also does give me a bunch of different warnings to kind of make sure that I'm sending to the right group. Am I sending to 11 people or am I sending to 11,000 people? Just to make sure that we have everything ready to go. And we already have that, so change that name and send it again, and then we should be ready to go. And you can see there, it'll send. Our system's a little bit slower just because it doesn't take priority over actual customers. But once we go and we send that message, we also get a full report here, and we can come in here and we can see, who's, who received the message, how they received it. So you get a full read receipt to make sure that everyone got it. So if you have people that are saying, hey, I didn't necessarily get that message that you sent out about the road closure or about the weather coming in, you'll actually get a nice little report here. And we can actually watch the progress as it sends it out one by one and sends all those messages out to you all to get your info out there. So you can see here, we just hit 10, we got 1 left. And then we have a full report. You can also send follow-up messages out of here as well. So if you want to follow up on an event or an emergency, maybe say, hey, road is all clear. You're all set to go back and drive down Main Street. You're all set. You can do that as well. And then as far as using the system, nice and easy. There's an actual full training mode. So you can actually come in here, enter your initials, and jump into training mode. That will actually allow you to do everything but send a message. So you can come around here and play around, make test messages, practice sending it out. We also have a bunch of different training options. We have in-person paid training, which is an option, but most of our folks actually will go in there and they will do the, video training. So we have a full library that will walk you down and kind of go you step by step on how to do everything. We also have weekly webinars that you can jump on free of charge and ask questions and have people walk you through any help that you might need with the system as well. So that's a kind of real quick highlights of the system. I'll pause there for any questions on it at all. I'm sorry, I broke up a little bit. Was there a question there?
Mr. Forsythe, go ahead.
Well, I guess mine is towards the emergency service director. Matt, are you comfortable with this? It says you reviewed several.
Yeah, we reviewed several. We showed to a lot of different counties. And as you know, go to a few conferences and meet with other counties. This platform is used by all the student schools in New York State, and there's a lot of other counties that do use the same platform. So we are familiar with them. We've looked at it. We've demoed several times, got a lot of recommendations from other counties on this platform. And this platform, compared to some of the other ones, the bells and whistles come with it, where the other ones there are different options that you can purchase later.
Okay.
So this seems to you get more bang for your buck.
I didn't push the text to start, so I'm kind of sitting here.
So a couple things he didn't touch on. One of the other features is groups. So we can set up groups for firemen, EMS, law enforcement. So if the sheriff needed to get an alert out to every law enforcement officer in the county, we can send it as predetermined, pre-generated message put in there. So we just add who we want to send it to. One of the issues that we have in my department is training. So we do email out to the chiefs A lot of times it does not get out to all the members. The chiefs, just like a lot of us don't, some people don't check their email on a regular basis, so they don't get them until after the meeting. But if we had an alert that one of our classes is filling up, we have a couple slots left, I can send it out to everybody and through the system, they can sign up on themselves, they'll get these messages. Any resident in one county, we can push it out there, they can sign up, so any kind of alert, like right now I'm doing the alerts on the Facebook page. So we could send the same alerts out, everybody would get an alert on any kind of device with this system.
Except me, without Facebook, right?
If you don't have Facebook, you're not getting the ones that are on there, right? Now, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So it's more efficient on us to be able to get information out. He touched base on iPods. iPods is a federal, it's through FEMA, and what it does is it sends an alert message out to everybody, all your Amber alerts and stuff like that, where you'll get it on your phone. We have the ability to do it, we have the authority to do it, we just don't have the platform to do it with. So we can draw, Messina recently had a boil water advisory. So we can draw a circle around Messina and we can send everybody in that circle. Even if you're in a truck driving through, you'll get that message.
Fair enough.
Mrs. Hagerty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Tanner, the other day, I got a message from Sheriff Engel saying that the roads were bad, and they were. I was out that night. So were you?
Yes, you were.
Yes. So, how is this different? Did I get that message because I have the sheriff's app on my phone?
Correct.
Okay,
That
so,
message has gone through the sheriff's app.
all right, so we won't be duplicating efforts, only the
They
people.
might be, like, we do it now. I'll put stuff on our Facebook. He does the same thing, puts it on his Facebook.
Okay,
So-
but in terms of this system, which I think is great, sounds great, everybody, all the colleges and stuff. So I'll be bombarded. Okay, that's all right.
If we do, move forward with this, I'm sure the sheriff and I will collaborate and work together
Great.
on these, so you're not getting spent.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Smithers.
Oh, thank you. Matt, is this system designed to reach senior citizens? We have a lot of senior citizens in the county. They might not have some of these newer programs or apps on their, whatever. Most of them probably do have a cell phone. So do they have to sign up to receive this, or will it reach them whether they've done anything or not?
The normal system that he kind of demonstrate, they would have to sign up. The system we're talking about through the iPods, they would not have to sign up. So that would go over any device that we generated to, either whole county wide, or we can draw a circle on our map or square, any kind of shape, and we can do it just in that area. It'll go over the TV screen, radio, cell phones. If you don't sign up, if you sign up, you'll get it through the app and come out as a text message, however, information you put in as you sign up.
Yes, Joe, this is Rick, will iPause messages, can they be generated, SMS, text, and telephone messages?
We can do phone calls and text messages. If you want like an example of iPause, think about when Florida sent that big test message to everyone, or they just did a national iPause test as well. When everyone got that message, it was like around like 2:30 in the afternoon when you got that text message and phone call. So yes, phone call.
It's the same text message we did last year at the Christmas farm that we sent out that when we closed the road, that everybody got, that's through iPods. But we don't have a system to do it, so for that message, we called the state, worked with the state, and it took, an hour and a half to finally get
And
it
at least
approved.
12 drafts,
Yeah.
because the rules about what messages can go and how long they can be, and
It took a while for us to get that message out. We weren't able to do it immediately.
one of the important things, I think, of looking at the system is bear in mind that in April this year, we're going to have a bigger event than we're used to. How that translates, what that event looks like, we aren't sure yet, but what we are sure of is that there is an opportunity here to move forward with a system that we know that we need. And we were able to both have emergency services look at it. This is also compatible with our future radio system, Motorola. And so that, I think, also gives us a year, that's what the request is this evening, that will be put before you, to see about all of the features that are available and to look at everything from training to those emergency notices to figure out
what in fact we need. We don't need more than we'll use, but we are pleased to bring you a recommendation so that we will have it live, in order that folks can enroll and receive notices before and around April 8th when the solar eclipse comes.
One of the good other features is you by creating an account. If I have any kind of medical problems, I can create an account, I can put them in there. So if I call 911 from my phone, in the dispatcher screen, it's gonna pull up my medical history that I put on there. So if you're diabetic and you call, you kind of an altered mental status, the dispatcher will see that you're known diabetic and could be a possible, that information could be passed on to EMS as their dispatch. So it's only the information you put on that would be available.
Mr. Smithers.
Yeah. Matt, what does the resident, all the people in St. Lawrence County need to do to sign up for this? I mean, is that going to be sent out as an informational thing to how to sign up, like specific directions?
If it's approved, what we can do is we can send out different flyers, QR codes. You know, see the codes where people take the picture and then they hit the button. There'll be other different ways to link. And like Joe kind of demonstrated, you can text Lawrence to that number. That's another way we can push it out to have people sign up.
And our friends in the media can help share that information as well. That would be in February, so once we get the system up. Any other questions?
I need a motion technically to, well, that was just a demonstration. Yeah, that's the resolution. If everybody's done with the demonstration, I'll bring the resolution up. Everybody ready? Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
I have a resolution.
Well, have a good one.
authorizing- Thank you, sir. Authorizing the chair to sign a contract with Brave Mobile for safety for an emergency alert notification program and modifying the 2024 budget for emergency services, moved by Forsythe, seconded by Reagan. Any questions? Well, actually, Matt, you're gonna speak.
I think we kind of said
Okay.
everything with the demo and questions. Anybody have any more questions?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, I have a resolution modifying the 2024 budget for emergency services for 5 call taking licenses for the 911 dispatch center. Moved by Mr. Smithers, seconded by Mr. Forsythe. Any questions?
With this resolution here in front of you is, we get grant money, and the grant money goes, and we use the grant money to purchase the upgrade to our 911 system. Entrada was the vendor that we ended up going with, pre-existing, because that's what we had before, we just upgraded the equipment in it. We did add some other call taking positions and the maintenance to it. Well, during that time frame, the state announced that they will not pay for maintenance out of the grant money we get in 2023. We can't pay for maintenance in 24, 25, 26. So we already submitted, we paid the grants. They came back and said, hey, we can't use grant money to pay for maintenance on sort of stuff. So that's what this resolution is about.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gunner. Next up, we have Mr. Goldenhour from the planning committee. I have a resolution encouraging local government to protect agriculture by using a solar development mapping tool for decision-making regarding solar development, moved by Mr. Forsythe, seconded by Mr. Smithers. Mr. Goldenhour, go right ahead.
Thank you very much. Good evening. The county's ag board and planning board dealing with numerous solar projects, several years, solar development in the county, and through the discussions with those boards, it was suggested by members of the board that it would be great to have a little bit more information in a spatial context to really understand where the best locations are for solar development. So staff in the planning office put together what we call it a solar development mapping tool, which is an online mapping interface that's accessible through the county planning office website. Excuse me. That allows individuals, it's geared mostly toward municipalities that have the ability to regulate land use, and solar developers as well, to examine areas in the county where solar should be encouraged, where it's not going to impact our best agricultural land, where it is actually buildable because of proximity to substations and three-phase power lines. And so we put together this framework where go to this website and search a number of different ways to determine where solar development should be or could be encouraged. And that's sort of the background on the tool. And this resolution was brought forward initially by legislators at an ag board meeting back in December, and that's the second piece of information that's after the resolution to show just offers a little bit more background on the impetus for this and the reason for this resolution encouraging the use of this tool.
Ms. McCaffrey.
Mr. Fulton, this is a good idea. But we get back to this thing where we can't tell people what to do with their land. Right? And I understand that there are people out there making a lot of money, almost a retirement amount of money by agreeing to this. So it may include some of this crime, right?
Certainly.
So I don't know how we get around it.
It is, there are a number of if you go to the website, there are a number of, first of all, an overview of how this was developed and what inputs. And then a disclaimer that says this is for information purposes only. This does not specify, it's not legally binding. It's not land use control. It is encouragement. So it's meant as a way of encouraging developers to look at this tool as a first step to say, okay, this area has already been identified as areas where we could, overcome some of the hurdles of access to three-phase power and substations. Slope, we've done a slope determination to make sure that the pitch of the land is not too steep to put panels on. So it's intended to really encourage development in areas where it is least impactful on the ag industry that we have right now, but it is not legislative in that it does not specify you can or cannot do something on this piece of property.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mr. Sorsay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason, so if this comes before the planning board, you will steer them to this site to look at it prior to,
Exactly.
okay. It doesn't have a lot of teeth because we can't tell people what to do with it, but it just gives them a direction of what you're leaning towards or what the
Correct.
goal is. Are you seeing the solar project slowing or still full speed ahead?
I would say that we have seen a reduction in the number of projects that we have reviewed at the county planning board level.
Okay.
Over the last 6 months or so, we've had very few projects. Before that,
Okay.
since the beginning of the onset of this, about 45 projects at the planning board for review. We have seen this slowing, but the state mandates are still there. So we anticipate that we'll see an uptick again in solar development.
Okay, because when we did the ag tour earlier this fall, we stopped at Zupal Farm.
Yeah.
And he was explaining that he had additional land he wanted to put in, but because of the infrastructure of the line that was already available, it didn't have the capacity to hold more. Is that the hindrance? Is that seeming to be the hindrance on these things, or?
In part, I think that's one factor. I think that
Okay.
just there's a lot of development statewide for solar, so the solar developers may be looking to other communities, in other counties around the state. There are land use regulations, we talked earlier about land use control, and individual municipalities do have the ability to zone for land use, so they could specify in the
Okay.
district, no, we do not want solar projects in this district. None to date have done so specifically in St. Lawrence County, but there are land use regulations here, whereas perhaps in other parts of the county, or excuse me, other parts of the state, there are not as robust regulations, so that may be why the development is going there. There could be a number of.
Yeah, I know that one of the issues that faced the Lisbon project, it's a 90-acre facility adjoining another one that's already there. National Grid, I think, was kind of the holdup, or they wanted like $3 or $4 million to tie it together, and
It's
so like
substation.
everyone's trying to get a piece of the pie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly deficiencies at the substation level in the county.
Okay.
Power lines not everywhere. So that
All right, thank you.
The next is Mr. Hall, but you're a minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason, and obviously there's an interplay between the county planning board and town level planning board. Have you had any, or your team had any communication with any of our towns and their planning boards about this tool and this encouragement, and any insight into how they intend to utilize that or encourage applicants to?
Yes, we have pushed it out. We've started the sort of a slow rollout of promotion of it, and have had communication with some municipalities than others around the county, and I think it's been welcome. I think it's a question of site specificity, really. Every project that comes into a community has is reviewed on its own site merits. And so if a project isn't in the works right now, I think that the municipality would be less interested in the tool. When they get a project, I think that they'd be more interested. One of the real intents of putting the tool together is having this go to solar developers to sort of start that conversation earlier in the process, so they don't come in and say, this is where we want to go, without any ability to shift. If they can look at this and say, okay, some of our homework has already been done for us, yes, we'll go there, then I think everyone comes out of the winner.
Mr. Ray?
Thank you, Jason. And you just touched on the point that I was wanted to suggest, and that is that there's been a lot of controversy about development of solar on prime ag lands, and the desire on this board by many to encourage solar development on lands that are not prime ag. And, I think this tool, we should make a real effort to try to get this information out to the solar developers, so that instead of they've already made their decision, they're gonna put it right here on Joe's prime farmland, and then we're like, this is a terrible, terrible thing. But if we could get them in their initial planning to locate these projects on sites like the tail piles up in Star Lake, where there's no development that's ever going to happen up there, we can do two things. One is encourage the development and help, while some people may or may not, may have opinions about solar, the reality is, as Margaret said, a lot of rural families can, make money off their property, make enough to make the difference of whether or not to keep their properties, pay their taxes, sometimes retire, and, that's a good thing. And I think too often in this, these discussion of solar, we as county government forget that, we should be helping families, acquire wealth and acquire, income streams and make use of their property. And if this can be done, I think this is, something good. So I would strongly urge you to also talk to the IDA about some of the, we should have a pretty extensive list of solar companies by now. And to help encourage them to take a look, because St. Lawrence County is the largest county, east of the Mississippi. So we got lots of land, and if we can get more solar into areas that currently aren't being used for ag and aren't being used for much, I think that's a good thing.
Mr. Fang.
Okay, as a member of the planning board, I probably listened to about all 45 of these projects in this time. We have encouraged them all from the very beginning not to put them on prime farm. Problem is, it's a dollar and cents game. These developers come in here and a person has prime farmland where they can retire from income from the solar company. It's dollar and cents game. And we can put these all over, as many resolutions up as we want for encouragement. It's still a dollar and cents game. And if we don't have any teeth in these resolutions, it's a lot of paper. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Fang. Mr. Smithers?
My question goes along with the last couple of comments, but my question for you is, what mechanisms are there realistically to encourage these solar projects to be on other than the prime farmland? What can we do? What can the state do to steer them in that direction? Because obviously there's a financial reason that they're on the prime farmland, because that's where they can do it at the lowest cost. So what mechanisms are there that can incentivize them towards other areas, if any?
Thank you. Yes, that's a great question, and that's something that we've been looking into for some time to see what is out there to try this encouragement, rather than just being legislative through the legislature. There's a couple examples from some IDAs around the county. The newest county is one where they offer pilot arrangement. Most of these have pilot agreements as part of their development structure. And in Lewis County, they have increased the pilot payment on properties that are not prime ag land. So it sort of encourages the development away from that prime land. That has been discussed with our IDA as well, and they are considering that. But that is sort of out of our area of expertise and pilot development. But that is one tool that could be used for that. The other is certainly just information about all the development areas that exist in the county and areas that really we wanted to identify through this tool that do not have that impact on the prime ag land, but still have the ability to be developed because they are approximate to all the inputs that are necessary for development. There are a few things out there, but as was discussed before, this is a a supply and demand and a free market type enterprise. It's a business, and there is not all that much, you have a willing buyer and willing seller.
It's a good idea that I hadn't thought of to increase the pilot payment.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, I have a resolution authorizing the creation of a 30-day modification period for the 8-year agricultural district review. So will run concurrently with the annual agricultural district review for St. Lawrence County and setting a date for a public hearing. Moved by Forsythe, seconded by Reagan and Smithers. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. Just a little bit of background. Ag districts is something that you hear about occasionally. The county has 2 agricultural districts, and they were established as areas where agriculture is combined land use. They do need to be reviewed on a 8-year cycle. Every 8 years, the 2 ag districts that exist in the county need to go through a pretty comprehensive review where we look at all the parcels in the district and ensure that they're still primarily made up of parcels that are agricultural in nature. So there is a 30-day modification period that is required for the 8-year review for Ag District 1, which is coming up this year in 2024. We want to run that concurrently with an annual district review that we have every year that runs from March 1st to March 30th. And you may wonder why the 2 reviews. Well, the annual review is something where applicants you can always add land to your district, and that happens on an annual basis, or add land to the district. You can only remove land from a district every 8 years. So we have the 30-day review period running March 1st to March 30th every year to add parcels. This year, we want to add a second 30-day period running for to allow people to remove parcels from the district. And also a public hearing is required. So the last component of this resolution is to set that date Tuesday, April 23rd at 6 p.m. For the public hearing.
Mr. Forsythe.
Thank you again. Going back to the solar project, do they lose their ag status when they sign up for a solar project?
They should be removed from the ag district, yes.
They have to wait the 8-year term, or how quick does that transpire?
No, they would have to wait yet to remove. You would have to wait for the 8-year.
There's no way to speed that up.
No.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Have a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with the New York State Office of Community Renewal for the Community Development Block Grant Funds and modifying the 2024 budget for planning office. Moved by Forsythe and Smithers. We have amendments that I have to do.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I can speak. But I'll speak to the resolution first. So we were notified, the county was notified that it was awarded a $615,000 grant for housing repair. This is part of our CDBG Community Development Block Grant Program, which we've been quite successful over many years, and I'll get into that in a second. But this money, the $615,000, has been awarded to the county has a 2-year window, so we'll spend it down over 2 years to provide housing rehabilitation assistance to approximately 12. We usually get a few more out of the units that we can rehab, but that's the award, and we're grateful to the state for seeing the continuation of this program. Did want to give you just a little bit of background on the success of the program, and so in the third whereas in this resolution, there were some modifications that I would like to make. Just some numbers got mixed up there. So this program, the CDBG housing program for rehabilitation, has been running for about 40 years. And in those 40 years, we've been able to assist 660 homes, not the 640 that is listed in the resolution, but a few more at 660. The assistance, the dollar value assistance is revised from 28.6 to 13,000,007, a little over $13,750 is what the new number is there. So we just wanted to clarify that, just to make sure that we're all as accurate as possible. But we'll see these funds, the 615 added to that 13.7 million, and push this program through over the next 2 years, assisting units in it is countywide, so it's eligible anywhere.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Where would one go to apply to get on the list?
It's we have worked with the Development Authority of the North Country for their most recent program, the CHIRP 4 program, which we call CHIRP 5, County Housing Rehab Program is what CHIRP stands for. So we anticipate having DANK be our subrecipient or administrator for the program again, so I can get you contact for
So I'm gonna need someone we're going to do an amendment to fix these numbers. Can I have a motion to amend? Mr. Reagan, seconded by Mr. Fay. Any questions about the amendment? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the amendment to the resolution?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So now, any other questions on the resolution as amended? None. All in favor of the amended resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll also have an update.
Yeah, last thing, you're aware of the county septic repair program that has been administered by the county since 2018. We have received 3 rounds of funding, a total of $1.2 million in funding for septic repair. The county has been notified that another round may be forthcoming, or another round has been put out by the state. What the state has done is they've contacted the county, asking us to cross-check a list of water bodies that they'd like to add to the list. So we're ecstatic about that, because as I know we've had this discussion before, how there's a real limitation to the water bodies that were previously identified in the first 3 rounds. So we anticipate a new contract. I don't have any specifics yet. The first step is just for us to get information back to the state, assuming that the county would like to continue to participate in this program, to let them know that yes, the water bodies that they've identified do in fact contain residences that may have septic systems that could be deficient, that we could help through this program. So we've gone through the list. We have the information. Just wanted to bring it up to you before I sent that back to the state. Understanding that they will take that. I can't guarantee that everything that they asked us to cross-check will be on the final list, but it's a good sign that they have added additional water bodies to the program. And in our conversations with the EFC and DEC, it looks as if we can go back and use some of the existing money that we have on these new water bodies once we have that information.
Mr. Forsyth.
I've had 3 calls this week on this one. And I encourage you to get round 4 because I think it's a great program. The two of the individuals were in the town of Lisbon, the first round. One of them went through the whole process, had the survey, had the site, had it approved, COVID hit, and never went through it and it's lost. So if there was a way to wrap around and come back to those, I know there's few that I've had over the last year or two that and those are all on the same, and I don't know if that's possible, but it was encouraging that you said that some of the monies that might not have been utilized could be transferred to the new ones, so maybe they can loop back and look at some of the old ones.
Absolutely, please send us their contact information.
Okay, I will, yeah.
Once
Just
we-
had one this morning, so.
Once everything is finalized, I can't, I don't. want to
No, I get
see
it,
what the
yeah,
final list
but at least it's
will
not-
be yet, because we don't have.
So they should reach out to the planning office?
They can, yep.
Okay. Yes.
Anyone else with a question?
I'd like to ask a question to the last one. Is there any way, Jason, you could email us, the legislators, the contact information for Dan for the housing renewal?
Sure.
And maybe the parameters of what they're looking for, what they could do, so we can see if it fits before we count people.
Sure, yeah, happy to do that.
Income, age, anything that has to do with it. So,
Yeah, they are income requirements for the program, so, yeah.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have our district attorney, Gary Patrick. Welcome, happy new year. I have a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a federal equitable sharing program agreement and annual certification report. Moved by Mr. Forsyth, seconded by Mr. Smithers. Great answer.
Thank you. So this is a recurring resolution that we have every January, February. So whenever the federal law enforcement agencies see any money from a federal investigation here in St. Lawrence County, my office has any nexus to that. They share that with my office as well as the local law enforcement agency. So if the federal agency is either the EPA or Border Patrol, the way we get that and the way I apply for that is through an electronic program online that I am the administrator of, that I keep track of. But in order to do that every year, the chairman needs to sign off on that agreement. As well, they check up and make sure that that's being audited, and I provide them the audit information that the county goes to every year. That's provided that I get from our treasurer. So this is the resolution so that when I go and fill out that paperwork here before March 31st, I can put in that the board has approved the chairman signing off on it.
Does anyone have any questions for our district attorney? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Right. Resolution passes. Thank you, sir. Next up, we have information technologies with your concept. Also happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
I have a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with the New York State Technology Enterprise Corporation for virtual chief information security officer services and modifying the 2024 budget for information technology, moved by Forsyth, seconded by Mr. Smithers.
Thank you very much. We began a relationship with a company called Nice Tech last year to secure these CISOs, we call them Chief Information Security Officer Services. To build a security posture in the county, really involves my entire staff. The role and purpose of the Chief Information Security Officer, which would be really expensive to hire a person, if we could even find them to come fill that role full-time, is to have someone who is singularly focused on security, knows what's going on, thumb to the pulse, because it's a very fluid, very changing world. Works with me and my team to understand our environment, our priorities, and put all that together so that we continue to focus on the things that have the highest priority. So we had a lot of success in our first round. We had them for about half a year last year, and this contract continues that relationship for another year to continue.
Any questions, Mr. Johnson? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I have a resolution urging Governor Kathy Hochul and the New York State Legislators to pass Senate Bill S 1230 and the Assembly Bill A 4552, an act to amend the education law in relation to adopting the Interstate Nursing Licensure Compact Part A, and to amend the education law in relation to adopting the Advanced Practice Nurse Registered Nurse Compact Part B. Moved by Mr. Reagan, Mr. Forsythe, Mr. Hall, Mr. Shea, Mr. Smithers. Second by Mr. Hall, sorry. So we have a hard time staffing our local hospitals, not just in northern New York, but the entire state. The people who do come here, we are still paying for most of the state the same, almost $100 an hour rate for nurses to staff these hospitals. That equates to fewer nurses in our hospitals due to budgetary constraints. Some of the problem we have is that in the 41 compact states, if you have passed the NCLEX, which is the standardized testing to become a registered nurse, you pass that in Montana and you want to go to work in Tennessee, you just take your Montana compact license and you go to your next nursing assignment, or when your husband gets transferred to the military, you go to the next state and you work there. In New York State, you still have to go back to handing in all of your transcripts, all of this, and I mean, they still do the same background check that they do with any compact nurse. There is a background check if you go to another state. It's very cool. But you're just paying hundreds of dollars and spending all that time to try to go someplace. And then there's always a back and forth, like, why do you want to come here? What do you do with that? It's a rather arduous proposition to try to get a New York State nursing license from another state. So this compact means, if we join it, that nurses can come here to travel if they want to. Or if a family is moving in, it makes it an easier decision. Oh, it's not, I have to go get a license in that state. Oh, my compact's good, I'm just on my way. We're gonna move to St. Lawrence County to do something. So I just hope that maybe we can ask them to pass this, simply because it would help us staff our hospitals and take care of our people who live in the state. Mr. Smithers?
Yep, I have a good friend who moved here from New Hampshire, and she's been a nurse for many years there. When she moved here, she's about the same age as me, okay? So she said it was an awful procedure to try to go through to get registered in New York for nursing license. So I think this is a good thing to do. My question for you is, how uniform are the requirements or standards to get a nursing license in the various states that we have?
I had to do a little research. In order to sit for the NCLEX, no matter where you are, there's certain levels of biology, certain levels of anatomy and physiology, like hours in the courses. It's pretty standardized from any college. In order to get the accreditation from the different bodies that give you that now to have college courses to be able to teach these specialty, lines of work. There's so many credit hours, like every anatomy and physiology course has to be 4 hours. Every lab has to be 2 hours. You have to have so many hours of clinical, and that is across the board in any place to be able to sit for the NCLEX. You have to have the same amount of standardized hours of clinical and what makes up clinical to be able to be an advanced practice nurse anywhere in the United States now, because you're sitting for either the AANP or the ANCC to take your standardized exams at the end. So they really have standardized it. It's not like if you go to be a nurse in Kentucky, you can go to school for 3 months and you're an RN and someplace else. It's a different country. Does that answer your question? Okay. Mrs. Haggard was next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not opposed to this. I was a recipient of certification agreement with teaching license in Texas University. So, but what I'm wondering is if, and we've had this come up before, the organizations of nurses in New York State have any opposition to this?
No, NISA, when I spoke with NISA regarding this, their thing is to protect the nurses once they practice. And one of the protections that they afford their nurses are not being appropriate, well, not being, but having appropriate staffing ratios. This would support appropriate staffing ratios for patient care. This would support not being mandated at the end of your shift. Having enough staffing means that you have the appropriate staffing ratio, that you're not going to be mandated inappropriately to care for the patients. And NISA's number one thing is to protect the patient and make sure the patient has care.
Can I tag on to that? Thank you very much. Who is sponsoring these bills?
Oh, I did too. Introduced by A. O'Donnell. I don't have the first name on that. And then Rob Report in the second.
Thank you.
Mr. Brady?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple things. My experience when I worked for the state legislature, I'm glad to hear you've been talking to the New York State Nurses Association, because they wield a great deal of power in the state legislature on matters of this sort. If they advocate strongly, it can move things to the top. I would urge you to accept a friendly amendment to add that certified copies of this resolution be forwarded to Governor Kathy Hochul and members of the Senate and Assembly Health Committees and Higher Education Committees. I think that we have a tendency in our efforts to lobby the state legislature, to lobby our state legislators who already agree with us. We need to lobby those who don't, or may be unaware of the issues facing St. Lawrence County. And we should urge, reach out in whatever means we can to get the area hospitals, the area nursing homes, the area healthcare agencies that desperately are trying to find nurses and need nurses and you know, could use their state organizations to join in this lobbying effort, because the reality is in order, you know, a lot of these restrictions were set up to actively keep out these professionals from other states. Which is why I'm glad to hear that the New York State nurses have no objection to this. But as you know, Margaret's question shows, you know, the first instinct is, well, they're probably against this. And that's what a lot of state legislators are going to think is the case as a knee-jerk reaction. And unless we get the this being pushed by everybody who needs nurses, because God knows every agency that I dealt with was desperately in need of nurses. And you know, we really need to find ways to increase the supply, and not just by bringing in more nurses, but also encouraging that our own our own educational programs produce more nurses. You know, nursing is a terrific career opportunity, and it makes me nuts that we are, you know, desperate for nurses and we don't produce enough nurses here in St. Lawrence County to take care of the needs of all the agencies that need nurses. So thank you.
Mr. Forsyth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank you for bringing it forward. When you brought it up the other night at the full board meeting, I thought it was interesting, without a doubt. Reciprocating with other states, I think it just makes sense. People that want to retire, come up here and spend the summer, work for diem, help alleviate the stress that's going through on these nursing facilities. I believe there's facilities right now that are sending patients out because there aren't enough nurses on the floor. That's not what we want. That's not safe. So thank you for bringing this forward. And I hope that something comes to fruition from it. And I think we should follow up, keep following up on this one, because it is becoming, you know, crucial. Thank you.
I'd like to make an amendment to add the members of the Higher Education Committee and the Health Committee to have copies sent to them, as well as the NISAC, so that we can get this on more agendas.
We agreed to the friendly amendment and she's right, nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So everyone in favor of the friendly amendment?
Just recruited nurses before, or at least attempted to recruit. Or this New York licensure was always a this would have a significant impact on our ability to recruit and retain nurses. Thank you for bringing this up.
So now I guess we're down to voting on the resolution as amended. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Resolution carried. Now we will hear from the county administrator with their report. Thank you.
With regard to the resolution that just passed, another organization that works diligently on this is what was formerly known as the Fort Drum Regional Liaison Organization, but is now known as Advocate Drum. Certainly with trailing spouses, they have great interest in licensure of all kinds, nursing certainly being critical need. In Watertown, as you know, there's not a hospital on base. They work with Samaritan quite closely. So this is another area of interest that I'll pass our resolution along as well. I have 3 transfer of funds to report out to you pursuant to local law C for the year 2011. The first is a transfer of $950 in the county clerk's office associated with year-end reconciliations. The second is a transfer of funds for $303.21. This is in emergency services to close out a grant. They needed to move funds from the 200 to the 400 accounts. This will allow them to roll over $8,962.79 to 2024. And lastly, associated with the sheriff's office, we transferred $5,000 associated with boarding out costs, which I will also bring you a final spend at finance with our fourth quarter update. But we did need to move some funds associated with boarding out this year. Wanted to give you an update on the public safety complex renovations. Currently, the bids are out for the low voltage, which for those not technical like myself, is the wiring and data associated with this project. So the bids are due back January 30th, and we had a mandatory walkthrough last week, which also allowed us to sit down with Beardsley and with Nice Tech afterwards and talk through some of the challenges that they anticipate, but also some of the solutions that we're working towards. We'll be working with the Village of Canton to do some joint communications, both to the residents of Pearl Street as well as to the general public about the changes associated with traffic patterns once we begin construction, and we'll shut down that small portion of Pearl Street. Want to alert you, you may be hearing from your town tax collectors. They have received back, we, as you all know, sent out the tax bills at the end of 2023, which have landed anywhere between the first of the year and now. But they are receiving some return. There are 2 types, as I understand, of envelopes: return service requested and temporary return service requested. So they're receiving, as the tax collector, some of the bills that couldn't be delivered. For example, if folks are traveling to other states and have suspended service. So I wanted to make you aware of that issue. The Real Property Tax Office is addressing it. They're working with our town tax collectors to make sure that folks get those bills timely and where they are supposed to. Vacancy Review Committee is scheduled to meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. On Wednesday, the Buildings and Grounds Committee will meet at 2 p.m., both virtually and in person. And then Thursday, the Canton Human Services Initiative's Board of Directors annual meeting will be held at 3:30. I want to give you an update briefly on Civic Clerk. As you know, you approved our movement and momentum toward electronic agendas, and we are this month running parallel. So you are seeing the agendas just as you always do, but we're also running them where departments are inputting them into this new program. And it's our intent that at 4:30 on the 29th, which is the meeting of Finance Committee, that you'll come in a little bit early on that day, and we'll have a training associated with Civic Clerk. Our intent and our work now is to parallel exactly what you see and exactly what your activities are. And so we're working on that. This at this point is departments inputting those resolutions moving through the workflow to us for approval, to the treasurer's office for approval, to ultimately assemble rather than the function and form that we've had for a number of years. So we're working diligently on it in the background. What you see will remain the same, but work with us. And if you can, mark in your calendar to pin at 4:30 on the 29th. Our go live goal is March, but we want to make sure that everyone's comfortable and that we're capable of running the system without any flaws. The GEIS update we talked to you about during budget, we actually have pushed that out to 2025. As you've been hearing about in a number of departments, principally Real Property and the Treasurer's Office have seen a number of retirements and new staff coming in. And this project will include both of those offices as well as emergency services. And so we're going to spend this year, it is a significant expense as well as a significant time commitment. to prepare for this upgrade to our mapping. And so our plans are to put together the rollout of this for 2025 and to budget for it for next year. So we'll keep you updated as that group convenes and has information to bring forward. Just a couple other items. We were able to, late last fall, wrap up the lead grant. That was the 5-year lead grant. At one point in time, you were hearing monthly about because of the challenges that we were facing in trying to roll out a federal program that had great intentions in a community and county where it's desperately needed, and we couldn't manage to get the money out the door. We couldn't get connected with the people who could use the services. So that grant actually has become a success story for us. And if Chair Hall will indulge, we'd like to bring you an update from Public Health on the lead grant this month. And also at services, as you remember, we've sort of taken a different approach to the reporting. We had ended up with, I think, as many as 9 or 11 pages associated with the social services report. And we've taken to separating that out into essentially three tiers of information: financial, services, and that's the children's services component, and eligibility. And so now that we have an accounting supervisor in place over there, we met today to start pulling together what you will see for the financial update. That's going to fall the same month as the quarterly update at finance. So at services, every quarter, you'll receive the financial update. And then at finance, you'll see the overall county update. We thought it nice to streamline those for the same meeting. You'll then see the eligibility and the services. So we're separating those out, not to overwhelm you with information, but to make sure that it's in pieces that make sense and can inform you about the department. And as I mentioned, at finance, we'll bring you the fourth quarter update for 2023. And today we hosted the first of hopefully what's many visits from the new judge for the 4th Judicial District. Chris Singh met with us today. Judge Farley joined us. The clerk from Family Court joined us, as well as our superintendent from Buildings and Grounds, Jim Traffin. We were able to meet and walk the space and talk generally about the courthouse and the great shape that it's in after 30 years, but also about the changes that we're going to need to make to accommodate 1 year from now when we see a new family court judge, second family court judge. So as you might imagine, we're a good distance from need versus want. And so we'll be talking with them in more detail. But what I'd like to do is at finance, bring you a request to go out for engineering for schematic design, much like we started the other projects, so that we can get folks much more talented than we are at use of space and what we could potentially look at to bring you for approval, and certainly to OCA for approval, so that we can get going with those renovations as soon as possible. That will displace one of our county departments, so we're working on plans for where, how accommodating we can be, and what our options are for replacement for the probation department or a portion of the probation department. So that's the update. There are St. Lawrence County pens on each of your desks for you to take with you tonight. And lastly, we have the New York State Association of Counties, NISAC conference, February 26th through 28th. If you would like to go, please let us know so that we can make accommodations for you. Rooms book up quick, but please reach out if you're interested. Any questions? Sorry, Harry.
Just so we know, because I don't, what is the 4th Judicial District?
So that encompasses, I believe, 9 counties that spans across the northern part of the state, all the way down to Saratoga. And they are all captured in one judicial district for the county. I want to say there's 7 of the state or the Office of Courts Administration. That's sort of how they segregate out the functions across the state.
Any other questions? So now on to committee reports. The Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board, Mr. Niche is not here, so we won't get anything out of that. The Alternative to Incarceration Board, does anybody have a report from Mr. Burke? No. Board of Trustees for Supreme Court Library, Mrs. Hackman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have nothing to report. We only meet once a year, and that's usually.
Thank you. The Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board did not meet in December. The next meeting is January 23rd at 6 o'clock. The Environmental Management Council,
We take the month of December off, so there has not been a meeting since our last report. We meet again on the 17th.
thank you. The Fire Advisory Board, Mr. Benucci did not give anyone a report. I took it. Jury Board, Mr. Sheridan, do you have a report?
You're muted.
You're muted again.
Has not met. I read his work.
Has not been. Okay, thank you. The Planning Board, Mr. Bay.
I think we had a pretty good report from Jason earlier in the meeting today. Amherst County Planning Newsletter is out for 2024 with all the dates of all the meetings. Planning board meetings are easy to remember. They're the second Thursday of the month. That will be the 11th of this week. So the other thing that I'd like to make note that we're presently meeting in the security safety complex. And it looks like we'll be moving to the Human Service Building on 310. And Jason, you got any date when we'll be moving yet?
Our meeting this Thursday will be at that building.
Okay. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Bay? Seeing none, okay. Well, any old business? Any new business? Do we have a need for executive session?
We do for appointments.
Motion by Mr. Forsythe, seconded by Mrs. Packard. We will go into executive session.
Right. Dave, I didn't know you could read lips.
That concludes our business for tonight. Can I have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Fay, second by Mr. Forsythe? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.